Welcome back to Business Doctor. We have been discussing about organization, and in the last discussion, we had discussed about planning, and we also discussed about how to make a foolproof plan. In that direction, we are trying to discuss today about what are the things that will make you a reasonably good plan or a foolproof plan. The first one is we need to have a right set of tools and techniques. Second, the team and the resources. The third is the processes and procedures that need to be followed. So as part of this video, we are going to discuss about the tools and techniques. We discussed in the last video about the types of plans like strategic, operational, tactical, and contingency that we didn't discuss detail last time. We'll discuss later when the time comes. So what are the planning tools and techniques for strategic planning? There are a lot of things available for an organization to pick up. There are various factors. We will see the various factors that have an impact on these plans down the line in this video. First, let's talk about the tools and techniques. The first one is a kind of roadmap. How you want your product or services to do or perform over a period of time. And at what stage, what should be the expected results, like that. Second, of course, I am not telling exactly in that order. I'm just trying to tell you the list of tools and techniques. SWOT. SWOT analysis will help you to find what is your strength, what is your weakness, what are the opportunities available, and the threats. The SWOT analysis can be done for an organization or a company. It can be done for the product, and sometimes it can be even applicable for self. So strength, weakness, which are part of, or it is internal or inherent to the person or the organization or the product. Opportunities and threats are mostly external to this. There is another technique called Delphi technique, and there is a technique called Potter's 5 force theory. The forces here are the kind of competition in the industry, any new entrants coming into the industry or the market, the ability for your suppliers to give the required output to you, and at the same time your customers, whether they are able to take or buy your products or services. And there is always a possibility for substitute products. So what is the threat from those substitutes? So Potter's theory talks about these 5 points. The other planning tool is like what if scenario. What happens if I enter into a market, or what happens if I do this product this way or services this way. This could be used for analysis purposes as well as it can be used for planning purposes. The similar one is like a scenario planning, like a use case. What happens when you go to a telecom showroom? So there is a receptionist who is receiving you, asking you, redirecting you to some other place. Whether it is for landline or mobile, and if it is mobile, is it pre or postpaid? Like that, there is a structured scenario and what happens to this scenario. There are scenarios in mechanical field, scenarios in financial field, from a technology perspective as well as from the manual or real-time, real-world experience point of view. The same way, if someone goes to a doctor or a hospital or a laboratory or a pharmacy, what happens there? So everything is a scenario, and you can have a positive scenario or you can have a negative scenario as part of your planning exercise. The other one is the product lifecycle management. What happens? I introduce this to the market. Then what happens if there is a competitor? What happens if the product gets obsolete because of new technology or new product, or you decide to change or drop or come up with a completely new plan or new product? So what happens to the product? That's a life cycle management. The other simple tool, for example, is that whatever I do, I don't care, but I want these are all the success factors. Like, okay, I need to have this much revenue or this many number of customers, like that. And if you are in a manufacturing, for example, or any production or manufacturing of a chain of steps, it could be even technical or any process. So what item goes from process A to process B or process B to process C, what happens is that the value of the item gets added. So there is a value chain. So people can plan for this value chain analysis. Or there is a possibility like I have a great visualization on the board, like a use case. It's called a fishbone analysis, fishbone diagram. So something happens here, so how that gets impacted to the outcome. The yet another simple, relatively simple, is balance scorecard. Like today, how many customers have come, how many footfalls my hotel has got it, or how many people had taken a particular item, or how many people visited restaurants, how many people visited bars, how many people, for example, in a theater, if there is a theater there, how many people went for a movie, at what time. So you can have a balanced scorecard about the performance of the whole business or the organization. There is a VRIO kind of a framework, which is V stands for value. What value your product or your organization provides the customer. Then that product or services, is it a rare? So what is the rarity? Say for example, if you take a specific mobile, there are certain things which are rare in a particular mobile, or because of which the pricing is decided. Whether somebody can imitate and produce. See, there are a lot of fake products coming in, or even if it is genuine, somebody can almost copy or produce something similar to that. So imitability. So whether it is able to imitate somebody, that's a question. And whether the O stands for organization, whether you have the required operational as well as the systems in place, which is again nothing but the tool per se to capitalize on the resources. Resources include human and non-human resources. So these are all the things which are typically used for strategic planning. Now coming back to the operational planning, which we discuss as the second point. Okay, you can simply like a forecast how things will be, whether somebody will be coming to office, or what will be the attendance for the next month or next 6 months, or what will happen to the customers' footfall, or the number of service complaints. So depending upon the type of industry and the business, so you can have a forecasting, and there are a lot of forecasting techniques available. We can have a contingency play based planning, like in the worst case scenario, what will happen, or if something goes wrong, what will happen. Always remember that there is a Murphy. Here, when I say Murphy, it is a Murphy's law, which states that if something can go wrong, it will. It will. So people have got that mindset to plan for the Murphy and plan for contingency. And the other simple operational thing is like a performance, which you can compare with the earlier movie to this movie, or compare yourself with yesterday to today, or something happened in the past, and what is that value today, or it is what it is that is going to be in the future. So there is a kind of benchmarking which can be done. The other techniques in the operational planning is like affinity diagram, where things are not oriented or completely disoriented information is available, and maybe they have similar characteristics. Okay, maybe characteristics in terms of behavior or attributes. It could be any of those things. So if we can group that kind of affinity items, then it is easier to have a work breakdown structure. Like I want to execute, say for example, I want to travel from point A to point B. So which means I need to plan for my tickets, I need to plan for my accommodation, I need to plan for my travel baggages, which include any personal stuff, official stuff, and any health needs. All those things you need to plan. Then it has to be packaged in such a way, something has to be shipped and something you are going to carry along. So these kind, and it might want a set of people. Suppose you are organizing a tour of say 30 people or 50 people by train or bus or by flight. So accordingly, the work breakdown structure changes, and different people get assigned for different types of tasks to complete. So work breakdown structure, or WS, that's what popularly called, will be used. And how these tasks go across or flow across, that's is a Gantt chart, which can be pictorially represented, and you can track when the item gets completed, when the item is going to start, whether there is a dependency, whether what is the lead time between this and that. All those things can be obtained from that. Of course, the simplest one is a typical project plan. There is a difference between a program plan and a project plan that we will discuss at an appropriate time. So project plan is a simple technique where you list down all those things and link it as appropriate, when to start, when to end, etc. The other technique is a decision tree kind of a thing. Okay, what happens if my purchase value goes beyond X amount of rupees or X amount of dollars? So what happens? So I go to my senior and ask for permission. If that value exceeds that amount, further amount, then there is a two-level authorization is required. For example, if you are a student, probably you need to get permission from both the parents. So first you go to maybe mother and then to father, or if you are going to father and then mother. So two-level of authorization is required. The same way in the organization, depending upon the position you are in and the value of the transaction you are trying to do as part of that planning item, it might require a one level of approval or two levels of approval, or it might require a completely a pool of people like board of directors to approve on that. So this will help. This tree diagram will make a decision tree, and it will help the organization. And the other one is a relatively simple one, like the grouping of such tasks or activities in such a way that there is an interrelationship between this task and that task. So you can combine, you can group it, or you can assign that kind of resource who got a balance between or who knows how to complete this task and this task. So interrelationship diagram is another operational or tactical tool that will help. We discussed about prioritization as part of self-improvement video itself. So there are a lot of prioritization techniques like, I do this, whenever that pops up first, depending upon the role, I'll complete that. So whatever else that I delegate to somebody who will complete that. So like that, it can be a flow based on the role and hierarchy. So prioritization can also be one of the simple operational tool. The other simple tool is a matrix. Like okay, this is the which means any set of activity or task the organization is trying to perform, they will put it in such a way that they put it as a matrix structure. Like these are the tasks, what are the attributes. So that means there is a relationship between between the attribute items to the main activity or the task. So matrix, if you, I would suggest you to better understand matrix and set theory. This will help irrespective of the type of business you are in, or you or an individual like maybe a cricketer or a shuttler, or you may be doing sports. That certain mathematical and science will always help you there, and matrix and set theory both are absolutely required. So having discussed about these two types of tools and techniques for strategic and operational planning, what we have to remember is that which one to choose at what point in time in an organization, that is completely dependent on the type of organization, whether it is large, small, or medium-sized organization, whether it is a distributed setup or a simple setup, size of the organization in terms of employees, tools, etc. The other one is the type of business the organization is doing. For example, if you are in a product space, then how you use these tools is completely different from the way you do for if your type of business is on service or service delivery. But still, all the parameters will be there any which way. But the way you deal with those kind of activities will vary depending upon the type of business, which is product or service delivery. And the other factor which is having an impact is the structure of the organization. Somebody may be having a flat structure, somebody may be having a hierarchical structure, somebody have again a matrix structure for reporting. Like the person has to report for task A or for this project to person manager 1, and for some other task to manager 2. So it depends on the organization structure. Certain things will have an impact. Of course, the policies, procedures, and the regulations in which the company is operating in a particular country. There are a lot of regulations from the government. Government will have labor laws, may be having a competition commission, may have antitrust. There are a lot of regulations there in any government across the world. So based on that, the certain plan will have an impact, or the type of business you are having will have an impact. So we discuss about these plans, etc. What this plan produces, that's the basic question, right? The plan, the purpose of the plan, for example, is to produce the expected results with whatever the activity or whatever modeling we did, these diagrams and all these what ifs, all these forces, everything you capture. But at the end of the day, the plan is expected to produce the results, which by completing the task or activity the plan suggests with the resources, with the in the timeline planned with the start and end, and with the effort, and for that particular cost or financial impact. So if somebody is able to achieve all these things as part of that activity or task, then the plan is effective. But it requires a lot of thinking, to plan and make people to work. That is also a big challenge. So once the plan, everything is in order, which you will find out after one or two trials, then as we discussed in the first video or first few videos, the outcome is A, correct, B, it will be faster, third, you will be able to repeat that plan, which means you are able to repeat your output to any number of customers or any number of business needs. So that is that's what the plan produces, and that is the expectation of the plan when you are planning it, whether it's personal or in an organization. So you will take one small example, like you would have seen the cobblers who are stitching the torn shoes or chappals or slippers. If you go to them, they, though their plan is based on that particular task, they would have kept all their tools and their ammunitions, if you call that way, like the threads, the wax, the tools where they keep the shoes and the needles, everything is available at arm's length. And uh, uh, and once you give the shoe for repair, he'll say that it will take approximately this many hours or minutes. Then he uses these tools exactly in the order he knows for that particular repair, and he does that, which is correct, faster, and he is able to repeat that. Tomorrow, if someone goes there for the same shoe repair, you will exactly take that many minutes or hours to complete that for the same quality. That's where the repeatability of the plans usage comes into picture. So, having discussed all these points, if you really notice what is the fundamental thing which is connecting all the dots, irrespective of the plan's outcome, irrespective of the type of business, irrespective of whether it is strategic or operational, one thing which is very very important and fundamental, and mostly every organization misses at many points, if not one point, they will definitely miss it multiple points, is the traceability. The traceability of your product or services or whatever is the business outcome, that should be linked back to the activity, not only the activity that is executed by a set of tools, a set of resources, set of people, and maybe equipments. It might be requiring a finance, which means your GL account or chart of accounts, to or your financial management, to your personal management or human resource management, to the products growth or the services growth or your ability to service your customer. That needs to be mapped for every activity. If that is not possible, then any which plan you do, at some point in time it is going to fail, or even if it fails, you may not even know that that was the root cause of the problem. So my suggestion is that you always have a traceability. People could argue that if something is traceable, then if I make a mistake, I may get caught. That that's a issue for the person who is making a mistake, and for the supervisor or manager how to deal with that kind of a mistake. Those things we will discuss later. But the point here is that everything should be traceable enough to that. If you are in a pharma industry, for example, or in a life science or in a healthcare, for example, or a manufacturing industry where it produces drugs, for example, or today even in financial world, every transaction has to have a proper linkage to from where it is coming, where it is going. So all these things are coming to the point of view of traceability. So if any plan which you make, as long as it is traceable to all the tools and inputs you use to produce that output, then it will give you a reasonable success for the organization. However, this varies. Though the concept of traceability remains same, it again varies based on the type of business. For example, you may be doing a red ocean business or a blue ocean business. Those things we will discuss when we open out on the channels for business and business related activities. The second one, which is having an impact, is the environment in which you are going to operate. It could be a political change, there could be a natural or climate change which is going to affect. So there are a lot of environments. We will discuss about some strategies at that point in time. It also involves people to exhibit that kind of a leadership. For example, it's a VUCA, VUCA. So that environment where it's completely is volatile, and you don't know how to proceed under certain circumstances. Sorry. So that means the plan has to still work traceable to that point as we discussed, and produce the required output even under the environment which is not conducive for you. So when we discuss about the business, we'll discuss about those things. Okay, so with that, we have come to the end of this session on the tools and techniques related to the plan. In the upcoming videos, we will discuss about the teams, resources, and process, and gradually open out on business and few other areas in the coming weeks. Hope you are able to follow, and I'm sure you can try in your personal as well as in the organizational or professional life. Thank you very much for being with me today. Cheers. See you next time. Bye.